Hi friends, welcome back to our little cottage here on the river in the far north of Idaho. So summer is definitely winding down here in North Idaho. You can definitely feel a change in the air, even though the temperature has still been very, very hot. There's definitely a change in the sunlight, and of course mornings stay darker a little bit longer and evenings get darker a little bit sooner. And this last weekend was Labor Day weekend, which is kind of the official end to the summer vacation season. And of course, here we have Priest Lake, which is a huge vacation spot. And so traffic to Priest Lake will be winding down here. But anyway, I'm not one to rush through summer by any means, but I am definitely looking forward to some cooler temps because it has been so hot. And so I definitely don't enjoy turning the oven on to bake when it's really hot. But here in this video, you are going to see me making my little homemade Pop Tarts. And these ones I'm making with my favorite all butter pie crust and the wild huckleberry jam that I made in the last video. And the huckleberry jam is the filling for these little Pop Tarts. And so this all butter pie crust is my absolute favorite pie crust. And this is the one I make for all of my holiday pies. And anytime a recipe calls for pie crust, this is the recipe that I use. And so the recipe is over on my blog, homespunannie.com, and I will also have it linked in the description box below. But this pie crust is wonderful. Highly, highly recommend it. It's very simple, very forgiving. And so here I'm just whipping up a batch, and this recipe makes 2 9-inch round pie crusts. And one of the wonderful things about this pie crust is you can make it ahead of time and keep it in the fridge for up to 3 days before you're going to use it. Or you can pop it in the freezer for up to a month before you're going to use it. You'll just want to pull it out of the freezer the day before and let it thaw in the fridge. So here I'm just prepping my dough. I'm going to wrap it in some plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge because I'm not actually going to make these Pop Tarts until the next day. So yeah, go head on over to my blog, homespunannie.com, and check out the recipe for this pie crust. You definitely want to have this recipe on hand as we head into fall and into the holiday season. And so here it's the next day, and I pulled the pie crust dough out of the fridge and let it sit for about 20 minutes before I rolled it out. And I just dust it with a little bit of flour and roll it out nice and thin. And then I'm just going to cut it into rough rectangle shapes. Nothing fancy. You could get exact with this if you want, but that's not really my style of baking, so I tend to call my style of baking rustic. So these shapes are not perfect, and they don't have to be. And also, I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees, and I've lined a baking sheet with some parchment paper. And so here you can see me just kind of roughly cutting out some rectangle-ish, square-ish shapes. And then I will pop these onto the cookie sheet. And here I am adding the huckleberry jam. Of course, you can use whatever flavor jam you would like. And I'm just putting a nice, generous helping in the middle, but you don't want to do too much because you want to avoid leaking as much as possible. But you definitely want to have enough jam so that you can really taste it. And so here I'm just putting the jam in the middle of the pastry, and then I'm going to I will go and actually first I will take my finger and get it wet and dip it in water and run around the edges of this pie crust before I add the tops to it. And this will just help the top to stick better to the other pastry and seal it. And then I will also take a fork and crimp around the edges to make sure that I have a really good seal. And then I will also take the fork and prick the top of the little pastries just to create some steam vents. And it also just makes them look pretty and cute. But yeah, definitely functional as well, as this lets steam out so you don't have as much leakage or bubbling over. And then I went and made a little egg wash. And so I took one egg and added about, I want to say, 2 tablespoons of water to the egg wash, and whisked this up with a fork. And then I don't have a pastry brush, and if you don't have a pastry brush to brush the tops with the egg wash, that's totally fine. Just take a paper towel and fold it up and use that to brush the tops with the egg wash. And then I just sprinkled a little bit of this decorative sugar on top. I think it's called sanding sugar. It's just very large sugar crystals that don't melt in the heat of the oven. And they just add a fun little sweet sparkle and crunch to the top of these little Pop Tarts. And these went into the oven for about 25 minutes or so. You just have to keep an eye on them. And once they turn a wonderful golden brown, you know that they are done. So this recipe is over on my blog, homespunannie.com, and I will also have it linked in the description box below. So I hope you'll give it a try. It is so easy, so fun, and they're absolutely delicious. And as I said, you can play around with the kind of jam that you want to use. So I hope that as summer is winding down for you wherever you are, that you are enjoying it and savoring it and looking forward to fall arriving. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, share with someone else you think would enjoy it, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.